Sound speeds, and welcome to our fifth and final installment in our series of Can You EQ a Bad Mic to Sound Good? Now, before we even get going, let me say that if you have not watched the previous 4 videos, you need to start there. Because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to catch up, and maybe some of this won't even make sense to you. So the links are down in the description below, and there's even a playlist here for you. Check them out. Now, if you have the time, I'd certainly recommend you watching them all again just to get yourself geared up for this video, because I'm going to be covering a lot of material here, and hopefully we'll be able to do it fairly quickly. We'll see what happens here. Now, also another note here is that we are talking about audio recorded digitally. Now, there are many principles of recording audio that are the same between digital and analog audio recording, but there are some that are specific just to digital and analog. And if you're one of those people that say, well, wait a second now, what you just said is correct for digital, but it's not correct for audio, for analog, you may be correct on that. But I'm just going to be talking about digital because that's how we recorded our samples for our videos here in this series. So let that be known. If you want to record good, clean audio, there's a lot of factors you have to consider. And I'm not going to possibly be able to go through all of them, but I am going to go through a big list real quick and rapid fire through them, and we'll see if any of them stick. Let's start with your recording environment. Is it quiet or is it noisy? If you go quiet, is it quiet? Do you hear a ceiling fan? Do you hear a computer fan? Do you hear a ticking of a clock on the wall? A person on a telephone in the next room over? A dog barking outside? Or kids playing? Traffic driving by? Is the television on downstairs? Is someone vacuuming? Is the dishwasher on? Is the washer and dryer on? Is the extractor fan in the bathroom on next door? Is the surfaces around you treated? Are they acoustically soundproof and acoustically sound deadening and absorbing? So that way your environment doesn't reflect all over the place. Is the surface underneath you where you're maybe putting your phone, recorder, whatever in front of you, is that been treated, or is that just a piece of wood also? There's a lot of factors to consider regarding your actual environment, and that's just a few of them. Let's move on to the microphone. The microphone itself, is it a good quality microphone, or was it a cheap microphone? How does it jive with your voice? Does it flatter your voice correctly, or was it just the best you could afford? Was it the right tool for the job is where I'm getting at. When you bought it, was it good or was it a lemon? Does it seem like it doesn't exactly perform correctly? Perhaps it does, perhaps it doesn't. You would know that. Is the microphone at the right height to pick up your voice correctly? Is it natural? Are you at a good posture while you're talking into your microphone and it sounds good? Or are you looking down and therefore crushing your vocal cords, or looking up and straining them a little bit and affecting your voice that way? Are you properly hydrated? Are you properly into it? Are you sleepy? Are you pumped up and energetic, or are you dragging? All of these factors are something to consider. How about this? The microphone and how far off the microphone you are. Are you really close up on the microphone and therefore it's just overpowering, or are you farther away? The cable coming out of the microphone, is it just dangling all over the ground, or is it properly strain relief to the arm or the shock mount? Because that's a factor. Is that cable a good quality cable, or is it the cheapest that you could possibly get? Is it a thin cable? Is it a thick cable? A low impedance cable? A high impedance cable? Is it properly designed for sound? Has it been run over or damaged in any way? Are there nicks and chunks sticking out of it? Was it properly soldered? The cable itself, is it a star quad cable or some sort of a standard cable? Is it a Mogami, Canary, some sort of a brand name, or is it a no brand name? Because believe it or not, that can be a factor. The connectors on the cable itself, are those something like a Neutrik or a Switchcraft, or is it a cheap off-brand connector that you don't recognize the name of? Is that connector's ground pin tied to the casing? Are you using an EMC connector? Are the connectors on either side of the cable plugged all the way into the microphone and the recorder? Or are they perhaps a little on the loose side? Is that cable going straight into the recorder through a short cable, or is it too long? Has it been coiled up? Is it running over a whole bunch of electrical things that could be causing some sort of interference? Is there nicks and damage to the cable that could be affecting things? Is it sitting on top of a light source? Is it sitting on top of a Wi-Fi router? Is it sitting on top of anything that could be causing RF or generating any kind of electrons near it? Once that cable has hit the recorder itself, is that a good quality recorder? How is the analog to digital conversion of the recorder going to handle that sound converting from analog to digital audio? Is it clean? What kind of media are you using inside your recorder? Is it a good quality media? Is it fast enough to record good quality quality audio? What kind of sample rate and bit depth are you recording in? Is your recorder in proper working order running the most current firmware? Do you have a separate mixer, or is it just the recorder itself? Is that mixer in proper working order? Is it a control surface, or is it an actual mixer? How is your gain staging being done? Is it being done correctly? Is it perhaps overmodulating? Is it too quiet and therefore noisy? Is it too loud and therefore distorting? Is your microphone requiring more amperage than your recorder or your mixer can put out? Is the impedance low to the microphone more than your recorder or your mixer can handle? Now you've recorded your voiceover and you can go into post. Are you monitoring it through headphones that do too much coloration? Or is it acoustically flat? Are you using monitor speakers? Is it just speakers that are cheap because that was what was available? Is your room all hardwood, or is it acoustically treated? Are the speakers at the right height? Are they small bookshelf speakers? Are they full big speakers? Do you have a subwoofer that's just blasting, or is it properly tuned to your system? Is there too much noise in your room? All of these factors and more can affect so much of your recording and how it's ultimately going to sound, because any one of those things can affect your recording and does. Now let's talk about my system and how it pertains to part one's voiceovers and the voiceovers you're going to hear later in this episode. In part one, I recorded on a Sound Devices MixPre 6, bypassing my DBX286S, and therefore it was not getting any kind of a process. There was also processing I did through Audacity. If you want to know about that, watch part number 3. For the video I did today, you will hear the voiceovers later, but they basically were recorded on a Tascam DR40 and then tweaked in Audacity. So basically the only thing that's different there is the recorder, Sound Devices MixPre 6 or a Tascam DR40. You're also talking about the difference between a $900 component and a $170 component, a Pro Audio component and a prosumer audio component. If you want to know a little bit more about that, I will say, here's the background noise of these two recording devices. The Sound Devices, the Tascam DR40. Do you hear the difference? You should. By now you've heard me reference the voiceovers I'm going to be sharing with you in a couple of moments, and the big factor to keep in mind here is they were recorded on a Tascam DR40, not the Sound Devices MixPre 6, like it was in part 1. Now, aside from that, the cable that I used on the AKG, the CAD, the Shure, and the newer is exactly the same as it was in the first video. The recorder is the only factor that was different, except that sometimes you have to make a little bit of a modification regarding how far you are off the mic, how you talk into the mic, because it does sound a little bit different on a recorder. Even if the settings are correct and it's gain staged, I may have to have been a little closer or a little bit farther off the mic, and you may hear a difference there, but that is the only factor that will be different amongst this test between part 1 and the video that you're going to see in a second regarding the voiceovers from part 5. So keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and play our voiceovers processed. Jackdaws love my big sphinx of quartz. Pack my box with 5 dozen liquor jugs. The quick onyx goblin jumps over the lazy dwarf. How razorback jumping frogs can level 6 peaked gymnasts. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for a future topic of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can send me an email at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future sound advice. Jackdaws love my big sphinx of quartz. Pack my box with 5 dozen liquor jugs. The quick onyx goblin jumps over the lazy dwarf. How razorback jumping frogs can level 6 peaked gymnasts. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for a future topic of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can send me an email at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future sound advice. Jackdaws love my big sphinx of quartz. Pack my box with 5 dozen liquor jugs. The quick onyx goblin jumps over the lazy dwarf. How razorback jumping frogs can level 6 peaked gymnasts. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for a future topic of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can send me an email at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future sound advice. Jackdaws love my big sphinx of quartz. Pack my box with 5 dozen liquor jugs. The quick onyx goblin jumps over the lazy dwarf. How razorback jumping frogs can level 6 peaked gymnasts. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for a future topic of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can send me an email at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future sound advice. So that was our 4 voiceovers. Now, keep in mind those were recorded on the Tascam DR40, and because it's a different tech completely from the Sound Devices Mix Pre 6, I had to do different processing, different equalization. And in a perfect world, you shouldn't have to do a whole lot, so believe it or not, I didn't. I just did a little bit to tweak what was automatically there. The microphones themselves have a unique sound, and if you start to deviate too much from that sound, it's not going to sound appropriate. So what I did is I processed it just a little bit and sweetened it just to try to really make it sound as rich as possible without distorting or making it sound too awkward. Because if you start to deviate too much from the pattern and start to deviate too much from the way the microphone actually is designed to sound, then it's not going to sound good. Just the honest truth of it. So I'm going to ask you at this point to pause the video. Maybe if you want to listen to the voiceovers again, go for it. But by the end of it, I'd like you to try to pick out which one you think is the cheap microphone. Is it microphone 1, 2, 3, or 4? And then if you're familiar with the AKG, the CAD, and the Shure microphone, and you like to guess which one those were as well, then by all means go for it. Depending on your listening environment, how it sounds to you, and headphones, monitor speakers, or are you listening on your phone? If you're doing that, heaven help you. I hope you can listen to it and actually determine correctly which one is which. I would strongly recommend you actually listening on headphones or monitor speakers in a quiet environment like a studio before you really take a guess and move on farther. Now, I also put the word out there to you, the audience, and asked that if you'd like to participate and listen to the voiceovers and send me your suggestions to be used in this video, you are welcome to do so as well. And I had 10 people respond to me, and here they are. We have Joni, Daniel, Chris J, Nathan, Digital Ham, Tarek, George, Weston, Louise, and Storm. So if you notice, each participant has a number next to them. Now I'm going to take that number that corresponds to the person, and I'm going to add their microphone suggestion next to that and place it under microphone 1, 2, 3, or 4 according to their guess. 5 of the 10 participants went one step further and told me why they made the guesses that they made. So I figured I'd put those up on the screen and let you check those out as well. At this time, I would like you to make your own guesses as well. Feel free to read what they wrote, but I don't want you to necessarily have your opinion changed by any of them because they could very well be wrong, just like you could be. Don't let the participants' opinions change yours because you watched part 1 through part 4 and you could have a background in sound, or if not even, you want to trust your gut instinct because you want to see if you were right. How is your ear? It could be better than these guys for all you know. If you haven't finished reading, hit pause on this video now because we're about to move forward with our big reveal. You ready? Okay, here we go. That's right, the CAD Equitech E100 was microphone number 1, and the newer was microphone number 2. Still, I didn't change it. Number 3 was the Shure SM7B, and number 4 was the AKG C4000B. If you know the way all those microphones sound and you made correct guesses, awesome. Thumbs up to you. I also want you to tell me how you listened to this video. Did you use headphones? Did you use monitor speakers? Did you watch on your phone? Or did you listen in your car even? Whatever the case may be, I'd like you to tell me how it was because I'm curious how you listened to this episode. I also asked our participants to tell us how they listened to this test, and here's what they responded. Now, did you notice that 2 participants, Daniel and Nathan, scored a perfect score? Daniel and Nathan both listened on headphones. Daniel listened on the Koss Porta Pro headphones, and he equalized it flat. He basically looked up the frequency response chart and built an equalization curve that negated out the natural sound of those headphones. So it basically flattened out the frequency response to be dead flat. Nathan listened on Sony MDR V6 headphones. And both of them were correct. And since we are talking about equalization in this video, let's talk about frequency response. The frequency response of the microphones that you were listening to could have been affected by the headphones that you listen to or the monitor speakers that you listen to? Do you tweak the bass? Do you not tweak the bass? Maybe listen on one ear or the other. Is it too noisy in your background? You by now should know all the factors that are going to affect your listening. And depending on what that was and depending on your familiarity with the microphones, it is definitely going to change what your opinion is. And perhaps you had the right ideas and you second guessed yourself. Who knows? Now here's a couple of things I want you to keep in mind, and you may have already thought of these when you made your selections, but I'm going to mention them anyway. When trying to place the newer microphone, the cheap one, you probably at least considered microphone number 3 for this choice. And as much as you want to guess that the background noise on the newer microphone would be higher because it's a cheaper microphone, that's not actually the case here. The Shure SM7B requires 59 decibels of gain for you to get a good level out of it. And unfortunately, the Tascam DR40 was not able to supply that with a clean effect. So the background noise you heard was actually that Tascam trying its best to pull out a clean signal out of that SM7B. This is a circumstance when a cloud lifter would have come in handy, but I didn't want to change the results and suddenly change everything about this test and add one of those in there just to make it quieter. So I stayed true to what I said, and I just made it about the microphones themselves. So if you did not pick number 3 as the Shure microphone, chances are you considered it as number 4, and here's why. When you listened to the EQed in part 1, you heard that I actually got all the way up on the microphone and pushed the proximity effect on that microphone because I was trying to trick you in part 1. Now, I didn't do that in part 5. And the reason why is because I wanted to get a natural sound to that microphone. So I distanced myself off the mic a little bit more, which gave it a more appropriate response. However, if you were listening to the EQed and expected it to sound kind of muffled, like Mike Delgaudio said it was going to in part 2, then you were not going to consider it as number 5, as number 4. And the reason why is because number 4 sounded natural and it sounded very rich in bass and it sounded well balanced. And the Shure SM7B, the microphone that did Michael Jackson's vocals in Thriller, obviously has to be a pretty good quality microphone, so you picked the EQed. The EQed is actually a very, very good quality microphone. And I still wish they made it today, but they don't. Now, the newer microphone, if you didn't pick it as microphone number 3, then it could be anywhere. As a matter of fact, only Nathan and Daniel, the 2 guys that got all 4 guesses correct, picked it as microphone number 2, and both of them picked it because it seemed to be lacking in fidelity in the frequency range and just overall did not sound right. It was lacking in the mid-end. It didn't sound fully balanced and just struggled along. Microphones 2 and 3 were the big ones right there, and if you could guess the background noise was the reason why the SM7B was number 3 and you chose the cheap component sound of the newer microphone as microphone number 2, then it basically boils down to which one is the EQed and which one's the CAD? Could you make a correct guess, or do you know the way that one of them sounds and maybe not the other and could make an educated guess? However, I would like to point out that one person made a recommendation for a new microphone for me, saying that whichever microphone 4 was is the one that sounds best on my voice, and that's the one I should be using. That was not the CAD, that was the EQed C4000B, so who knows, I may switch it up in the future, we'll see. Let me take a moment and thank the participants that took their time to email me the results and thoughts as to why each microphone was what it was. Thank you so much. I hope you had fun with it. As for the people that did not send me the email, I hope you followed along and participated in this video and along the way with the other 4 videos as well. How did you do? Tell me in the comment section down below. Now, keeping in mind that the Tascam DR40 and the Sound Devices Mix Pre 6 were totally different sounding preamps and they're totally 2 different sounding recorders altogether, perhaps go back and listen to number 1 and listen to number 5's voiceovers and really do a comparison there. Actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and give it to you here. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for a future topic of discussion. Again, comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for a future topic of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can send me an email at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. Or if you'd like to make a suggestion for a future topic of discussion, again, comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for a future topic of discussion. Again, comment section down below. Or you can send me an email at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Or you can send me an email at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. Or if you'd like to make a suggestion for a future topic of discussion, again, comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for a future topic of discussion. Again, comment section down below. Or you can send me an email at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Or you can send me an email at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. Or if you'd like to make a suggestion for a future topic of discussion, again, comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for a future topic of discussion. Again, comment section down below. Or you can send me an email at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Or you can send me an email at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. So only because I've received quite a few emails of people asking me what my opinion is on this, I'm going to give you my opinion. Can a cheap, bad microphone be equalized to sound good? You ready for my answer? No, it can't. And here's why. Cheap microphones are basically that. They are cheap microphones put together as cheaply as possible. They are not about engineering a good sound. It is about matching up components that will work to make a working device that will convert vibrations in the air into electrical current. That's all it is. That's what a microphone is, a pressure gradient microphone, I should say, which is like the newer NW700. Now, if you were to look at this microphone as quality for the price, you would say, oh man, this thing is really awesome regarding quality for the price. And it is, because if $1 bought you this amount of quality and $2 bought you that much quality, basically double, and $4 double that quality again, then you would spend $10,000 for a fantastic, almost perfect sounding microphone. It would sound so good that you would like sing about this thing. It would sound absolutely wonderful. But it doesn't work that way. In one of my earlier videos, I even discuss it. So check out that video if you'd like a little more information. But in short, can you EQ a bad mic to sound good? Not really. It's not about the frequency response. It's about the overall components of the microphone. Frequency response is a part of it, but it's also about so much more. How does the microphone deal with background noise? How does it deal with distortion? How does it deal with resonance? And does it resonate correctly off your voice? If you are too far away, if it doesn't have enough reach to pick you up, if you're too close and you just pop the microphone like crazy, even when you're talking off axis because the components are not made to withstand any kind of pressure. Is it the kind of thing where there's too much proximity effect? There are so many factors, and I could go on and on and on about it. But I won't. In the meantime, though, I will say thank you for tuning into this episode of Sound Speeds and for this entire series of Sound Speeds, and tune in to more episodes in the future for more fun and sound advice. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.